Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training. As we've been doing all week, we've been having daily trainings to help our newly migrated customers. And it's 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Just as a heads up, the trainings have been running about an hour 15 to hour and a half long. So if for some reason you can't go through the whole training, you can come back to the YouTube channel. We do record this, so it's available on our channel, so you can look at it later, as are the previous streams. You can also find a recorded training on our support page. So go to virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, and you should be able to get to the dash support pages, as well as that's where the feature guides are, etc. All right, so right here we've got our dash login page, which is dash.virtualpbx.com. And it asks you for your username, which is an email address, your password, which hopefully you received via email, and then your account name, typically your company name. Now, if you didn't get the email with your password for whatever reasons, just click on Forgot Your Password down here at the bottom right. It's going to, again, ask you for your email address, and then we need either the account name or one of your account phone numbers. Right? So for our vConsole customers, odds are you probably remember a phone number since that's what you use to log in with on vConsole. So you can enter that in. You click on the Reset Password button here at the bottom, and the system will send you an email and have a link to get you logged in and change your password. Now, once you change that password, the system's going to log you out, basically making you log in with your new password. And I would say at that point, just click on Remember Me. So that's one less password you have to worry about remembering about. And then go ahead, click Sign In. And voila, I'm on the dashboard page. Now, if it's your first time signing into Dash, then you'll actually be taken to a different page to start, which is your account page. And the Dash wizard will pop up, basically walking you through and showing you, highlighting different things. Main things people change here is their time zone, possibly their language. Now, as an admin, you also have these account settings here. And again, the main thing people change, time zone for the entire account, right? So if you're based in New York, you don't want to be on LA time, etc. Now, this is a test account that I am showing. On your accounts, you actually have, as an admin, another section here for billing information, right? So you can update your credit cards, you could download, you can see your service plan, you should be able to get your invoices, etc. Now, when you're done with this area, go ahead and click on the little close box up here at the top right. And now we're back on the dashboard. Now, along the top here, you may or may not have a D&D switch up here. Basically, this is to toggle on Do Not Disturb for you. Now, if you've been assigned into an AZD queue, odds are you're not going to have this switch here. We have encountered some issues with that, so we've removed it for a lot of accounts. But you should have the question mark icon. Now, here you got Chat with Us. This will open up a chat window to talk to our support team so they can walk you through setting up a feature or answer questions. Next up, we've got our link to the support pages. So again, you can see guides to the related features that you might be working on. Whoops. The online store takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, so you can order the desktop VirtualPBX softphone app, or a VoIP phone, or a router. And then the web phone link, this will show up once you've added a web phone to your user, and then the next time you log in. But it opens up a new tab to webphone.virtualpbx.net. And this is just a type of soft phone, right? You can use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls over your internet connection. Then we got the hamburger icon, or the 3 horizontal line menu icon, depending on what you want to call it. We're on the dashboard here, and then you have these other features here. Some of these are, at least on this account, they're on beta or may not be in use. Some of these are add-on features like ACD queues. They have additional fees associated with them depending on the plan. Every person has access to their own user portal. So we'll be getting into that later. On the left here, these are the core aspects of your Dash account, and we'll be going over all of them. And then here in the middle, let's go ahead and dive in. This total users, these are all the users on your account, right? These are people who are making and receiving calls. Down below, we've got your total devices. Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. The web phone, which we just talked about. A soft phone, again, software application on a computer, on a tablet, on a smartphone. All right, it uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. SIP phone, right, a type of VoIP phone. This is a physical device. All right, maybe it sits on your desk, maybe mounted to a wall, maybe just right next to your router, what have you. But this, again, uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. Landline, pretty self-explanatory. One note about users, depending on your plan, adding users may increase your bill. Some people have plans where they're just based off of just total minute usage, and so they can add as many users as they want, but that all those users have 1 minute pool to use from, so it will vary. Unregistered devices. So the system here is telling me that I have 13 devices that it cannot connect to, right? Basically, these are typically VoIP phones that they might not be powered on, right? The user may have lost internet connection. They might have a router issue. There might be something else going on. But basically, the system is saying, hey, these 13 devices, we can't send calls to, we can't get calls from. All right, total phone numbers. Basically just the total phone numbers on the account. So for new signups, your plan includes anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your plan price. If you go over that, additional numbers can be anywhere from $1.99 a month to, I believe, up to $9.99 a month, depending on the plan, or on some of the older plans anyway. Let's see. Then we've got the breakdown here. Assigned numbers versus spare numbers. So an assigned number goes someplace. It rings to somebody or will get to a voicemail box, right? So a call can get connected from those phone numbers. A spare number, just a number on your account, but doesn't ring anywhere, right? You're holding it because it's for a special promotion you're about to run, or you've got a block of 10 numbers in sequence and you just haven't started using a couple of numbers yet. Now, spare numbers do count towards your allotment of phone numbers on your account. So yes, you are being charged for them even if you're not using them. Obviously, if you're under your allotment, there's no additional charge there. USDID versus US toll-free, right? So toll-free, 800 number, 877, right, all the way down to 833. Works all over North America, or works in US and Canada. USDID, that's just a US local number, right? So, take a number in Ithaca, New York, you can add it to your account. You can then, look for a number, say, in Tucson, Arizona, and you can add it to your account. Those are both USDIDs. All right, conference bridge, we got 6 here. What this just means is I have enabled conferencing on 6 of my users. Now, I can't do that unless I have a main conference number, which we'll get into under main number, for the main number section over here. Over here on the right, though, we've got, these are your main numbers, right? So these are your general customer numbers or customer-facing phone numbers, right? So customers dial them, they get to your system. These numbers all behave the same fashion, right? So they're all going to route the same way. So for instance, if they all go to your virtual receptionist or auto attendant, right, they're all going to have the same main greeting. Now, if you want phone numbers to have different greetings, right, let's say I want this 408 number and this 323 number to have their own separate greetings, I would need to set them up under auto attendants to have their own separate greeting. Right, down here, conference number, you can have multiple conference numbers. These are numbers that everyone calls into to join a conference, whether they're a staff member or one of your clients or vendors. Fax box number, this is the number that you receive faxes on when you assign a number to it that actually enables faxing on the system. So you can also send faxes, assuming you've added the permissions. The company directory, this is a download file. It's simply a text file. It shows the users and their extension numbers. The soft phone directory, also a download file. This is for use with our desktop soft phone app. You upload this file into your the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone, and this allows you to see the status of other users on the soft phone, right? So if I open up my soft phone after installing this file, I'll be able to see, oh, my coworker Bob, he's available for a call. I can call him if I need to talk to him, at least in terms of the soft phone, right? Or I can see, oh, John, he's on a call right now. No point in trying to call him about whatever issue I need to talk to him about. Likewise, since they're on your contact list at this point, you can just click and call them. Store discount code for being a Dash customer. You get a discount in the online store. I think it's like 10 or 15%. I might be wrong on that though. And then we've got the account realm. This is used in a couple things. One is to help program a third-party application or device, as well as for your outbound faxing. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Up here at the top, you got caller ID. This is your company caller ID. You can select any of your numbers, or any of your main numbers, excuse me. Now, unfortunately, my pull down here isn't working. But this is essentially whatever number you select is your default number on the account. Then you can enter the company caller ID name. This is, you can type in 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. And after you click Save Changes, this will get transmitted to the other carriers that support CNAME. It takes about 3 business days for that information to get updated among the various carriers and their servers. But then once you make a call from a VoIP phone, that information will be transmitted to your destination. Now, a couple caveats. One, your call can route through many carriers to get to a particular destination. Maybe it's only 5, maybe it's 20. Hopefully it's probably somewhere in between that. But it's always possible that your call can route through a carrier that doesn't support CNAME, which means that if it does, then your CNAME information doesn't get to your destination. Now, this is normally for the smaller / regional carriers, right? The big boys you've heard of, they all support it. But it's usually, again, the smaller or rural even carriers to some degree. Now, even for the carriers who do support it, it's not a high priority, right? So if they're having very high call volume, CNAME information gets dropped, right? Their priority is to connect the call and then show the phone number that's calling you, right? Obviously, if a carrier is having a maintenance issue or an outage, you're probably more concerned about the call getting through versus your caller ID name showing up. And then the most minor qualification is if you're calling someone who already has your phone number programmed into their specific device, right? That local programming will take precedence over anything we send to the phone. All right. Down here, we've got the company emergency information, or E911. Again, you want to put in the address associated with this phone number. So when someone picks up a VoIP phone, calls 911, this is the information that gets transmitted to emergency services. So any changes here, you would just click on Save Changes. All right, and then next up, we've got hold music. So hold music on Dash is after a call has actually connected to a staff member, right, a user on the account, and then they press hold on their VoIP phone. That's when hold music or music on hold comes into play. Now, you can upload your own file. Click on the upload button, find a file on your computer, and then click on the little upload icon here. You can upload .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. You want to make sure it's recorded in mono, not in stereo, and it's under 1 megabyte. All right, and then you would click on Save Changes. Now, the hours is actually a subset of main number. So let's just go to main number and cover everything. so up at the top, you've got your main company numbers. If you want to add a number, you can add from your spare numbers. All right, so I've got the 1702 number here. You can also buy new numbers. And this option here, right, add from spare, buy numbers, you can do this on any location where you can add a number. So like you can add it directly to a user, to a ring group, etc. Right, so local, you would look up an area code. Let's go with 415. I don't know if we have a lot of 415 numbers. Oh, so when you have this, that means we don't have any numbers currently available. We can do a back order via our porting team. However, with a back order, we don't know when we're getting a number, much less we don't get any kind of choice in it. In that case, you would want to look for an overlay or nearby area code. So like close to 415 would be 650. Actually just south. 415 San Francisco, California. 650 would be like San Mateo area. And then you can find a number and add it to your account. You see I have added number here. There's the number. I can remove it if I don't decide, oh, I don't like that. If you scroll down, you'll see, oh, it'll populate some more numbers as you go down. And then you can click on buy numbers. All right, this is just adding it, verifying that the number was still available, and then putting it on the account. This is taking a little longer than normal. All right, and here we go. It's added to our account. Now, you see the big red unassigned button? That means if I don't want to use the number anymore, I can remove it. So I can click unassign here, get rid of the 323 number. I can also get rid of the 626 number. Now, I haven't deleted the numbers from my account. I've only just said, hey, I don't want to use it here. Right, so they basically go, if you click on my add from spare numbers list, you'll see they've been added to spare numbers. So I can use those numbers someplace else, or when we get to the numbers section, we can delete the numbers. Now, for any of these numbers, or actually anywhere you have numbers, you can click on the little gear icon, and you can adjust the caller ID, right? So you can put the CNAME information up here. You can turn on allowing inbound caller ID name to go through to your users. We got the E911 area section, right? So I can, again, put a specific address here for this phone number. And then you have prepend. Prepend is for your VoIP phone users. You can put a text in front of the caller ID that shows up on the phone's display, and it gives your staff a heads up about what the call is about. Next up, we've got the office hour strategy. So for new signups, you start off at 24-hour open office. Right? Most customers end up going to custom office hours. If you do custom office hours, you put a check mark for each day of the week that you're open. Right? So I could put in Saturday if I wanted to. And then in the boxes to the right, I select my open hours in 24-hour or military time. And then there's a save button that's getting cut off. Likewise, you have office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here. And then over to the right, you've got this add holiday option. You got single day, date range, and advance. So clicking on any of these will create a new row. And so here for President's Day, for example, you give it a name in the long box here. Then you select the month and the date. And then you would click on Save Changes. Likewise, if you want to get rid of it, click on the little trash can. For date range, it's like this option here for Christmas. You select the start date and the end date. And then advanced is like this retreat option here, where I'm just saying, hey, first Friday in July, we're on holiday, right? Company picnic, right? And unfortunately, the pull downs aren't working here, but you've got second, third, fourth, last, etc., and then each day of the week. The main caveat is for date range. Since there's no year indicator, you do not want to do a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You simply just want to do a single day for each one of those. And then click on Save Changes. All right, incoming call handling. Now, we're still under main numbers. So for all of my 4 main numbers here, right, I'm controlling how the system deals with those calls. Now, right here, I've got open hours. I also have an after hours tab and a holidays tab. Right, they all have the same basic options. So call comes in this case, going to the virtual receptionist. This is a link. If I click on it, it should open up the new window. And then over here on the left is the main menu, right? This is what people press on their phone to navigate through the phone system. This is on top of if they know your extension numbers, right? So if they know the extension number that they want to reach, they can enter it at this when they get here. And then over here on the right, you've got your greeting options. So when your main menu, you would click on Add a Route, and you have a default route plus 0 through 9, and then you want to choose where it's going. Now, if we go up here, for example, we'll see we've got many options. Right, Smart Directory, that goes to the user directory. You can send it to a specific user. We scroll down a ways. We can send it to a call queue, right? So I have ACD queues on this account. Devices, right? So I can send it to like this particular cell phone, for example. Then I can send it to a media file. Downside for just sending it to a media file is once the media file ends, the call will end. Then we can get to ring groups, right? So a department. Advanced call flows, these are actually other auto attendants. So because we have auto attendants now on Dash, you can make use of submenuing, right? So I can set this option 2 to go to this other attendant, which sends a caller right to that attendant. They hear another greeting, right? And they have a whole new set of menu options to choose from. And even on that, this Vegas base, right, I can make another submenu off of that. So for instance, if you have your main greeting set up that, hey, press 1 for English and 2 for Spanish, for example, right? When I press 1, I get sent to the English attendant. I hear another greeting, and I have my menu options there, right? Likewise, if I press 2, I can then hear a Spanish greeting, right? And then the menu options for your Spanish-speaking customers. Right, and then lastly, you've got the option here for voicemails. Over here on the right, your greeting options, text-to-speech. You just type in what you want the system to say. Oops. Wow, I'm not typing well. But anyway, you type in your message, you would click in update. And then I would click on save and then save changes. Let's go back into it. And so now that's a computerized or robotic voice. You can upload your own file. .wave, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. You just find the file on your computer. And then click update. You can choose from an existing recording. So anything that you've already uploaded, recorded over the phone or previous text-to-speech greetings. You can record it over the phone. Now, by default, the system wants you to use a VoIP phone on the account, but you would follow these instructions, right? Pick up your phone, dial your main number, and then enter the PIN number. Now, if you already have a greeting in place, you can still enter the PIN number. Now, if you don't want to use a VoIP phone or you don't have one handy at the time, right? You just signed up and you're, oh, I just want to get this going. I want to, play with it a little bit. Down here under settings, the allow outside recording. If you turn this on, that allows you to record from a cell phone or landline. Now, this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So it only works during my open hours. That means I can only change it, my open hours greeting, while I'm in open hours, right? Same for after hours. Also, if you already have a greeting in place, right? So you have greeting A is the greeting file that plays when people call in, right? You can call in, you can enter this PIN number. The system will prompt you on how to record a greeting. The file name, greeting A, stays the same, but the content will change, right? So whatever you just recorded, right? You're overwriting the content on greeting A when you already have a greeting in place. Right. Professional services, when you click order, it will take you to another website for snap recordings. They have 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from, various versions of English, Spanish, and French. So you can do multilingual greetings. They have what they refer to as hold treatment, so music file, script, music file, that sort of thing. They handle their own billing, right? Basically credit card. They deliver via email, and then you can just upload the file. They also currently have a holiday promotion going on. I don't remember the details, but that just started, I believe, this week. All right, settings. Number of retries on this dial, and I have it set at 2. So basically what I'm saying is that if a customer calls in and let's say they keep pressing 5, right? So they press 5, the system will replay the greeting again. They can press 5 second time, play a greeting, and then the system will play the greeting a third time, letting them get basically one last chance. They still hit 5. Then they'll say, you get an invalid entry, is what they'll hear. Or it's like, we did not recognize the entry that you've entered. And then the system will send the caller to the default route, which in this case is a smart directory. Or if you don't have a default route, it will end the call. And then the dialing timeout, right, I have set at 1. This is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes the person is done, right? So basically I press 5, the system waits a second, and says, oh, they're done. I'm gonna try to send it to number 5, which doesn't exist in this case, right? For most customers, I say, you probably want this at 2 or 3, but not more. I've seen some systems go up to 10 seconds for some reason, and I think that's too long, but that's maybe because I'm impatient. And then you've got the allow outside recording if you want to record a main greeting with cell phone or landline. All right, so in general, you want to keep the outside recording on off just because you don't want someone to try to call in and enter random PIN numbers and try to change your greeting on you. Because some people, that's fun for them. I don't know. The other thing is I've been, for a while now, I've been recommending against using a default route for most customers, and that's just to prevent robodialers from chewing up minutes on your account, right? Because a robodialer can come in, they'll hear your greeting play, right? If they don't press anything, the greeting will play again, and depending on the number of retries you have, and then eventually get to your default route, and that means potentially a staff member gets to hear random music play when they pick up, or on their voicemail, right? Or the Nigerian prince offering them millions of dollars if you only send them, 50 gray. So I say just in general remove the default route, and that way what you're doing is basically for your inbound callers, if they're an actual person, right? They'll press a menu option, right? Or they'll enter an extension to try to get to somebody, whereas robodialers won't. Now, there are instances where you may want to have a default route. Basically, you just don't want people to press anything. You just say, hey, hear my greeting, and then go into, say, a ring group or a queue right off the bat. Now, any changes you make on the virtual receptionist So either the main menu or the greetings or these settings. You click save, and then you click save changes, and you're all set. All right, second option, call comes in. I'm offering it to Bob. If Bob's not able to pick up, call goes to the virtual receptionist. This is the same virtual receptionist because we're still on open hours that we were just looking at. This is a pull down. You can choose from any user. You can choose from a green group, a queue, a specific device. You can also have it play a media file. I usually don't recommend the media file because then you're potentially having two greetings play, which could confuse customers, etc. But the main point of this second option is you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members, in the case of queues and groups, a chance to answer the call first. And if they're not able to, because your staff is busy, then the caller gets to the virtual receptionist where they can enter a menu option or extension number, right? So basically giving your staff an opportunity to answer the call first. Third option, call comes in. Again, I'm offering it to Bob, but if he's not able to pick up, it goes to voicemail. This pull down has the same option except with one additional one, which is way down here at the bottom, which is skip to voicemail, right? So basically call comes in, boom, send them straight to this voicemail box. And you can choose any voicemail box on the account. This particular option typically I see for customers using on holidays or sometimes after hours. Basically, hey, call comes in, we're not able to take your call, please leave a message, right? And then this last option here is because I have those attendants, so I can send it to an alternate attendant if I want to. Now, after hours and holidays, right, they have the same options, but like the virtual receptionist for each one is different, right? So I can have different menu options. I would probably have a different greeting, right? Even the settings are their own. So you can customize how things flow, right? So like I have my daytime group, and then I have my evening staff members, so I can route calls to those groups or staff members. Same with the holiday. All right, main conference number. So again, I can add it from spare or buy a new number to add multiple conference numbers if I want them. You have a custom greeting, which means you can do a text-to-speech greeting. You can choose not to have this enabled. So even if you don't have a custom greeting, the system says welcome to the conference. Please enter your conference room number, followed by the pound key, and then the PIN number, which hopefully they would know because your staff members emailed everybody the relevant information. Main fax box number. You can, again, buy from new or add from spare. Once you've done that, you can edit the fax box. Now, on this account, the fax box is broken because it's a test account. On your accounts, when you click on Edit Fax Box, you get a pop-up window with two fields. The first field is for inbound notifications. This is basically who's getting notified when a fax comes in. That email address will get a PDF in the email. They can then double-click to open the PDF and look at the fax. The second field is for outbound permissions, so you can specify who is allowed to fax out. If you own your own company email domain, then you can put your company domain there, so then anyone on that domain can fax out without being a user on your account, right? So you've got intern Angela is working for the holidays, and you just want her to fax out to your customers. You don't need to add her as a user and potentially increase your bill. You can then just say, here's how you fax out. Now, speaking of how to fax out, on Dash, faxing out is currently an email to fax process. So you create a new email. In the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, the area code and phone number you're faxing to, the @ symbol, and then your account realm, right, which you can get from your dashboard. Then you attach a PDF or a TIFF file, and you click send. Right. There's no point in typing in the body of the email because the system only faxes out the attachment. Additionally, the system will only fax out one attachment per email. So if you attach, 3 attachments, one of them will go out or be attempted to go out, and the others won't. Likewise, if you have like a signature, if your email client attaches a signature file, you're going to want to remove that so that you can only just send in your PDF attachment. All right, let's go to auto attendance. Up here at the top, that's where you add an attendant. Likewise, for most places, for most things that you can add, it's at the top. Right, you give it a name and then you give it an extension. Literally, your staff members can transfer calls to another attendant, right? So like, if you have multiple businesses and the caller ended up getting to the wrong business, they can say, oh, hold on, let me transfer you. And then they can use the extension number of the attendant to transfer them to the right company. All right, if you click on the name, you have this option here to make available in a main menu. If you look on this test one here, you see its default is unavailable. So when you make an attendant available in a main menu, what you're saying is this one is an option for submenuing. Right. Phone numbers. Right. Each attendant can have their own phone numbers. You can add from spare and buy numbers. Right. So like these separate businesses have their own phone numbers. The extension number, you can click on this box. You can add additional extension numbers, unassign an extension number. And then you've got the little wrench icon under settings here. And now you see I've got my open hours, my after hours, and my holidays. Now, you only have the option to send these callers to the virtual receptionist, right? No other routing options currently. And these hours follow your main number of hours, right? So you can't have different hours of operations for your attendants. Now, if you click on virtual receptionist, you'll see they have their own routing options here. Again, they can have their own greetings and their own settings. All right, devices shows all the devices on the account. Green means the device is registered, meaning we can send a call to it. Right, cell phones typically are green. Red means it's unregistered, meaning we can't send a call or receive a call from it. Again, that could be they don't have power, right? Or someone didn't plug in the phone, or they didn't plug it into the router, or they lost internet connection, or they got whole new internet, whole new routing equipment, and they haven't adjusted their settings yet. Anything like that. Black means you've disabled the device. And so for a cell phone, that would actually show up as an unregistered device on the dashboard page. To add new devices, you click here at the top. First up, we got SIP phone, right? So this is that physical VoIP phone sitting on someone's desk. You find your manufacturer, and if it's on here, let's say with Cisco, and then you find the specific model. Then down here at the bottom, you give it a name, so like Bob's phone, and you enter the MAC address. The MAC address is unique to each device. It's often a sticker on the device, usually like on the back or the bottom. You can also often, like on a phone, click on the menu, get to status, and there'll be one of the status options to show the MAC address. So you would enter that information. You click on create device. You can then assign the device to a specific user. Within the dashboard here, you're done. But on the VoIP phone, you need to access the phone's web user interface. That means get the IP address, enter the IP address in the address bar of a web browser on a computer that's on the same network as that VoIP phone. You log in, and you need to get to the auto provisioning section to enter in a URL, right? Basically telling the phone, hey, go here. The phone does it. It gets its configuration file. It will reboot usually a couple times, and then it'll show up as a green device. For the specific steps on these manufacturers, you want to go to the support page under virtualpbx.com. Go under VoIP phones, and you're looking for the guide called Auto Provisioning Phones. That will have screenshots and the URL and where to go for those phones. to make it easier for you. All right, cell phone and landline, these are similar, basically the same. You give it a device name, and then you put the plus sign, the number 1, area code and phone number, and assign it to a user, and then you click on Create Device. All right, so the default look on a cell phone or landline is like this. So what happens is Dash sends a call to a cell phone, right? Your cell phone will ring, you pick it up. By default, you're going to hear, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. So when you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take the call. If you were a vConsole customer, that's like pressing pound to accept the call, but instead now you're pressing 1. Now, that doesn't work for every instance, right? For instance, like you want to send a call to an automated answering service, especially for your after hours, right? The automated answering service can't press 1 because it's not a real person. In that case, you would want to put a check mark here in front, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now you don't have to press 1 to accept the call, right? We hear that pickup tone from your automated answering service. We connect the call. Your automated answering service then takes over the call and handles it. Now, if this is actually going to your cell phone, if your cell phone voicemail picks up, we will treat it as a connected call, which means the inbound caller can end up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people like that. Some people don't want it. All right, the other thing that comes into play is keep original caller ID. So, for instance, say customer Mary calls into your system, gets to you, it's ringing on your cell phone, but you don't recognize the number, so you're like, I don't think I want to take this, right? Maybe it's, you've been getting hit with political calls or various robodialers even to your cell phone. So if you uncheck keep original caller ID, what happens instead is when Mary calls in, what shows up on your phone is that main company number, right? The one under dashboard, under caller ID. That number you selected, that's the number that shows up on your cell phone, right? So give you an idea, oh, this is a business call. Let me take it. All right, next up, we've got soft phone. So first, you get the little warning message basically saying because of wireless technology, you could be wandering around. The E911 may not be accurate. So be wary about calling 911 from a soft phone. Now, right here, right, we are set up right here as a third-party application, right? This little grayed out area. So you would use this for programming of a SIP phone that didn't show up under the SIP phone list. Right? You couldn't find your manufacturer or your model. Or if you're going to use a soft phone from another company, right? So you're using a soft phone application from, say, Counterpath. You would still give it a device name. You would use the SIP username, right? You're probably going to copy and paste that. Then you click on the SIP password box to reveal the SIP password. Again, you would copy and paste that. And then you would copy and paste the realm. You're going to use these 3 pieces of information to set up that application or device. Now, we do have some guides for some applications and devices that aren't on our list, but they're just way too many, so we can't cover every device out there, which means if you're familiar with that application or device, you're probably going to be okay programming it this way. If you've never done it before, you might want to reconsider. Right? And then you would assign it to a person and click on Create Device. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone, what you want to do is right here where it says Use Third-Party Application, you want to click there, and that flips it to say Use VirtualPBX Application. You give it a device name, you assign it to an owner, you click on Create Device. That user then gets an email saying, hey, your soft phone is ready for use. Here's your login information. Now, if they're going to use soft phone on, say, an iPhone or an Android phone, they can just download the app via PBX phone, enter in that login information, and they're good to go. If you're going to use the desktop application, then you're going to want to you need to get a license for that. So you'd want to go back up here to the online store, and order either the Mac OS or Windows desktop soft phone, and then you'll get the download links for that. And then I'm going to go down to web phone. Web phone, again, type of soft phone. And then you give it a device name, select an owner, click on create device. The web phone, right, webphone.virtualpbx.net, you use Chrome or Firefox on a computer, right, so desktop or laptop. And then to log in, it uses your dash login information, right? So same email address, same password, same company name, account. All right, next up, we've got our greetings manager. You can add a greeting at the top here, right? Give it a name, find the file, and upload. .wave.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Down here, you'll see the names of your greetings, the type, right? So upload means I uploaded the file. Recording means I recorded over the phone. TTS, I did the text-to-speech greeting. You got a download link here. So if you're not sure if the file is still relevant, you can download it and listen to it on your computer or phone, technically. And then you got a little wrench icon here. So you can change the name to make it something more recognizable. Or if you said, hey, I listened to it and this is no longer needed, click on delete greeting. All right, groups, short for ring groups. You can click add group here at the top. You give it a name, you give it an extension, and then you click and drag the people you want to be in that group, and then you click on create group. Once you've done that, you can click on the name. You can always change the name. And then you've got dialing repeats here. This is the number of times an inbound caller can reach the members in the group, right? So one means they have one chance to ring everybody. If they don't pick up, then we'll go into group features for that. And then you can increase that over here on the right with the up arrows. You click on the members box. You see all the members in your group. Now up here along the top, this is right here at the very top right, this is the total ring time in the group, right? So default for a new group is 120 seconds. You can change that. You can change it to 60 if you want. You can change it to 600, etc. And this is the order that I'm having the calls ring in, right? So it's Bernard, it's Jean, it's Jan, it's Bob, it's David. These are sliders, so I can do something like this. It basically change how the calls route. So in this case, what I'm setting up is a blast ringing, where it's ringing everybody the entire time until someone picks up. Right? I can change the order too, right? So I can click and drag on a person, bring them around, like that, and then I can click distribute again, right? So now it's in this order instead of my original order with Bernard at the top. Again, because these are sliders, you can also do a little bit more overlap if you wanted. Do something like that. And then you would click on Save Changes. Now, groups can have both an extension, right, and you can add multiple, as well as a phone number to go directly into the group. That's an advantage over queues, right? ACD queues can only have either an extension or a phone number, but groups and queues can also be menu options, right, off of your virtual receptionist or the auto attendants. So that's something to keep in mind. Groups also, we can offer calls to any device, right? Cell phone, landline, VoIP phones. Queues, we can only offer calls to VoIP devices. The advantage queues have, though, is they have different routing options, right? This only has basically call an order or blast ringing or some kind of combination of those. Right. You also cannot log in and out of a group. Once you're in it, you're in it. Group features, bring back. Basically, you can upload a media file, .wave, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Right. This will play back while your inbound caller is waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. you just want to make sure that the duration of that file, right, matches the ring time here. The system will not loop the file for you. All right, next action. So if your staff members are not able to pick up, what do you want the system to do? In this case, I'm sending it to this voicemail box. But again, you've got, I can send it to a user. I can send it to the main menu. I can send it to a specific device. I can send it to another group. And then I can send it to any voicemail box on the account. Allow call forward. If you enable this, basically you're letting your users make use of call forwarding, meaning, hey, I'm not going to be at the phone that's normally at my desk, but I'm going to send calls to my cell phone. If you have this enabled, that means they will still get the group calls to their cell phone. Caller ID prepend, again, for VoIP phones. You can add text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on the phone's display to give your staff members an idea what the call is about, right? So especially if you have staff members in multiple groups, right, it just gives them a little bit of an, oh, it's about this. All right, this is so they can prepare themselves, at least mentally, about what their call they're going to take. All right, numbers test, or numbers, right? So this shows the numbers in use and where they're going, right? You got the little gear icon next to each of the numbers to do the caller ID, E911, and prepend. Spare numbers, right? Numbers I'm not currently using. Now, if I want to remove these numbers from my account because, you know, I want to reduce my bill, right here you put a click in front of click on the box in front of the number. Excuse me while I can't talk. And then now I've got this option to delete. It says, are you sure? Delete the numbers. It says, hey, you successfully deleted the numbers, and now they're completely off my account. Right, so I saved a little money. In spare, you can buy numbers, again, local and toll-free, same process as anywhere else. Port, right, so you can begin the port process, right? That means you're moving a number from another carrier to VirtualPBX, right? So say from Verizon to your VirtualPBX account, choose local or toll-free, click next. Oh, that's right, you want the name. And then you need to upload a bill copy, right? You're going to acknowledge that it's within the last 30 days. And then the system's going to ask you for some information about I believe the address that it's associated with. Eventually we'll ask you for a completed LOA, letter of agency. Now in this process, you have the option to download a blank LOA. You can also get a blank LOA off of our website. It's under the support pages. Now on the LOA, it's going to ask you for company information, right? So like company name and the address associated with it. That information should match what your current carrier has on file. So like in this example, Verizon, whatever Verizon has on file for you and for that phone number, that's what should show up on the LOA. The LOA does need to be signed. Now, it can be a digital signature, right? You can get a little PDF of your signature and put it in there. But you don't want to just type in your name, right? Because it asks for the authorization name and then the signature, right? You don't want to just type your name in both fields. The second one needs to be signed. You can also email those documents to porting@virtualpbx.com, and they can handle the port that way. Through the port process, right, you can submit the documents. You'll get an email saying, hey, you've successfully submitted your port request. By the next business day, you should get a second email from our porting team saying, thank you for your porting documents. Here's what to expect. It's a longer email. But that lets you know, yes, your porting request got all the way through, and they're processing the port. If you don't get that second email, or the system errors out, right, it's like it didn't complete, you can still email porting@virtualpbx.com, include your LOA and your bill copy, and we can still process your port that way as well. Toll-free numbers take anywhere from about 3 to 5 business days to complete, assuming things are accurate. Local numbers, I've seen it go as short as 1 day, and they can go as long as 6 weeks, although both are rare. Usually it's about a week to 10 days, give or take. If there's any kind of error, that we get a message back from the other carrier, they'll say something like the address doesn't match. They won't tell us like, oh, it's off by 2 digits or they transposed a digit or anything like that, right? They just say the address is wrong. So that's all we can give you. We can say, hey, your port was rejected because of an address mismatch. Now, we do typically double check to make sure that we didn't do a typo. But if we've confirmed that, then you would have to double check with your carrier to find out what they really have on file for that phone number. All right, let's go down to users. So you see all the users on the account. The little gray person, standard user. Blue suit icon means they're an admin. Up here at the top is where you add a user. You fill in their name. You give them an email address. The email used for login, this needs to be unique for each user. All right, you create a password for them, and then you give them a main extension number. Now, I started this system with extension 1000, so the system is being helpful and saying, hey, the next one in that series is 1021. I can make this anything I want, right? I can make it, 2310 because I'm starting up with, I made a new attendant and I want the people associated with that attendant to be on series 2000. All right. By default, the system will create a voicemail box for the user. That voicemail box is intrinsically tied to that user. So, for instance, if I create this user with a voicemail box like this, and then I add a VoIP phone to that user, they can pick up that VoIP phone and hit *98 and then hit send on the phone. That will log them in directly into this voicemail box. Then the system will prompt them to, enter in a PIN number, right? So they can create their own PIN, and then to record a voicemail greeting for that voicemail box. So if you don't create a voicemail box for the user, or you accidentally delete the user voicemail box and then try to create a voicemail box later, you are not able to do that same kind of tie-in. So they're not going to be able to hit *98 from their phone. They can still hit *97 and then enter in the voicemail box number, but the *98 is just saves a little bit of time. All right. Next up, include in user directory. Right. So if you want this person to show up in the user directory, you've got the send emails to an alternate address. So when you create a user, right, you got an email address already for their login. That's the default email that the system uses to send, say, voicemail notifications, as well as the password recovery. Or if you add the VirtualPBX soft phone, right, that's the email address we send to. If you click send to alternate, right, and then you put in a different email address here, this email address will supersede the login email address. And then probably the most important one, send credentials to the user, right, so they can log in. If you need to just add the one person, you click on create user. If you need to add more, you can create user and add another. So once you've added a user, if you click on their name, right, you can always change their name. You can change their credentials under here, under clicking change credentials, right? You can change the email address and password. Now, for instance, let's say Bob, he can never remember the passwords that I create for him, right? We're on completely different wavelengths for whatever reason. I can click this here, right here, where it says here. I can send him the password reset email, so then he can create his own password and hopefully one that he'll remember. Obviously, any changes, click on Save Changes. Voicemail box PIN. So again, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to create a PIN number for them. Just tell them to hit *98 from their VoIP phone, and the system will prompt them to create their own voicemail box PIN. For your cell phone or landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them before they can access their voicemail. Right, got the option here to send to an alternate address again, as well as the option to be in the company directory or not. Over here on the right, user, this is a pull down where you can make someone an admin, and likewise, you can make an admin back into a user. If you're the only person on your account, please don't make yourself a user. Keep yourself as an admin, at least until you add someone else, or add another admin, I guess. Next up, we got the time zone. right? So you can choose a specific time zone that a user is in. This is the display language, English, French, German, or Russian. Ringing timeout. This is how much time the system is going to ring a device on a user. If they have multiple devices, it will ring them all for that same amount of time by default. The default for a newly created user is actually 20 seconds, which is plenty of time for like a landline and most VoIP phones. The reason you would have it higher would be if you're sending calls to a cell phone user, right? So as far as a PBX system is concerned, call comes in, and if we need to send it to a landline, right, we send it to the landline telecom company. They know exactly where that phone is, so they just boom, send the call right away. When we send a call to a cell phone carrier, they have to find you first, right? Bouncing signal off of the cell towers, they find you, boom, then we send that call. That delay is why you might want to have a longer ring time for calls going to a cell phone. It simply takes a little longer as far as this system is concerned, or actually in terms of a PBX system is concerned, to get a call to a cell phone. Right, users can have multiple extensions. You can also remove an extension from a user if you want. Users can also have their own phone numbers, right? You can add for spare, you can buy a new. Over here on users, you can also add devices, right? You can either add spare devices or new devices, right? You got the same options as we had before. And then we got the features box. So caller ID number you can only enable this on a user that has their own phone number. And what this does is basically when this user makes an outbound call from a VoIP phone, this is the caller ID that shows up instead of your main number. Call forwarding, you have off, failover mode, and on. If you turn it on, you're just saying, hey, forward calls to this other phone number. Now, call forwarding, like to turn on call forwarding, your users can do this themselves, either via the user portal, or they can do this on the VoIP phone itself using feature codes. This device should not be already on the user. Failover modes for your VoIP phone users. Basically, the phone becomes unregistered. Call happens to come into the user. The system will automatically send the call to the forwarding device. Hot desking. This is another VoIP feature. You create a hot desk ID at the very least and click on Save Changes. So this is used in an instance where you're in an office environment where people can change desks from day to day, right? Or maybe some people only come in like once or twice a week, right? And so they just sit at the first available desk, that sort of thing. So, yesterday I logged in, I came into the office, I sat at desk number 7. I pick up the phone, I hit *11, that turns on hot desking on that phone. It asks me for the hot desk ID. I enter it. It says calls will be forwarded to this device. So now when any call comes in going to my user, it's going to ring at the phone I happen to be sitting at. End of my day, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. Right? So this morning when I walked in, that desk number 7 that I was sitting at, someone's already there. So I'm like, well, let's see, desk number 14, you're up. I do the same thing, right? Pick up the phone, hit *11, enter my hot desk ID. Now I'm taking calls at that phone. Voicemail box is green because I created the voicemail box for the user. At the same time I created the user. Fax box. You can create an individual fax box for a user. Right, you would click enable, and then you can select a spare number. You can select buy a new number, or you can assign it to an extension. Now, I generally recommend just using a new phone number or a spare number, so that way people just enter the fax number, hit send fax, and they're done. Right? If you choose an extension number, right, you can enter an extension number that isn't in use and hit select extension. So then the person faxing, they have to call your main number, right? They hear the greeting. Then they hit the fax extension that they're going to send to. Then they hit send fax. And that might vary depending on how they send faxes to you, right? If they use an eFax system, they have to follow the parameters that their eFax system uses to get to an extension. Conference bridge. Right, so I enable conferencing so this person can host a conference. Shows me the conference number. The conference room number matches my extension number, and then the PIN number I create for them, and then I click Save Changes. Now the PIN number the user can change themselves, again, via the user portal. Follow Me. This is for users with multiple devices. So when you first enable it, this is how it looks. Right, so it's enabled, but all your devices are set to do not ring because it doesn't know which ones you actually want to make use of. So you choose the devices you want to use, and then up here you got your total ring time, 120 seconds, and I can click distribute, for example. Right, so now it's going to ring in this order. Now let's say, we're getting towards the holidays. I might be out and about more often, hitting customer sites. Let me include my cell phone. I can click distribute again, but I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want my cell phone to be first because I'm at my desk and I want it to ring to one of these instead. And again, these are sliders, right? So this is just like the follow me calling, or the group call, the members section of the groups, right? So I can do blast ringing if I want as well. Music on hold. Users can have their own on hold music, right? You can upload .wave.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. This will supersede the on-hold music we did on the dashboard page. Customized call recording. So when you enable it, it first starts off like this, right? So you have to decide what kind of calls you're going to record for this user. So inbound internal. This means, my salesperson Bob is calling this user. Right. Inbound external means customer Mary is calling this user. Right. Outbound internal means this user is calling coworker Bob. Right. Outbound external means this user is calling a customer back. And then you click on Save Changes. And then lastly is Do Not Disturb, where basically you're telling the system send calls to this user directly to voicemail. Next up, we got the voicemail boxes. Right, shows all the voicemail box on the account, and if they're a user voicemail box, you'll see their username here. You can click Add New Voicemail Box. You click a name, right? You could give it a name. You give it a voicemail box number, and then a PIN number, and then you click on Create Voicemail Box. You would create a voicemail box for, say, one of your ring groups, right? Instead of assigning it to a person's voicemail box, as well as to an ACD queue. Once you've created a voicemail box, you can click on the little wrench icon here, right? So you can always change the name and the PIN number, etc. And then, but especially for a voicemail box you create manually, you're going to want to double check the greeting media. You can upload a file, right? The .wave.mp3 under 1 megabyte recorded in mono. And you want to make sure you have one in the media section here, right? So this is the default greeting for that voicemail box. Now, the temporary file here, this you can use for like the out of office voicemail or a holiday greeting, right? Hey, I'm out of the office, from here to here, just leave a message, or for an emergency, call this other person, right? And then when that person comes back from their holiday or vacation, you would set this back to none, and then their default file will play again. Likewise, if you want to record over the phone, right? Call into a number, hit *97, enter in the voicemail box number and then the PIN, and you can get the personal settings to record it over the phone. Recipients. Now, for a user voicemail box, right, it's automatically going to the email used for login address. For manually created voicemail box, you probably do want to add a email address here so someone is notified when a voicemail is left. Voicemail boxes are limited to 100 messages, so definitely you want to make sure someone is notified so they can check on that. And then we've got the options. Now, once you have a media file set up and recipients, you can then go ahead and click on Already Set Up. And then the other options that tend to come into play. So delete after notification, right? So by default, when someone leaves a voicemail in a voicemail box, the recipient list and or the user is sent an email, and they get a file, a WAV, actually .mp3 file in that email, so they can listen to the voicemail message. And with delete after notification checked, when that voicemail gets sent, the system deletes the voicemail off the system, so you don't have to worry about the voicemail box getting full. Now, you might have staff members who like calling in and listening to the voicemail, or who like going in through the user portal to go through to get voicemails. So what you might want to do in that case is get rid of delete after notification. So in this instance, they still get, right, we have attached message to email. So they're still getting the email with the attachment, but now they can just log in and view the voicemail messages and delete them themselves, right? If you don't want your staff members to get the attachment either, right, then you can uncheck this. So now they have to go in either through the portal or over the phone and manage their voicemail box. And this new one here is transcribe message, right? So the system can listen to the voicemail and then transcribe it into text, and that's what you get sent via email. And that's like a week or two old at most. Any changes, go ahead and click on Save Changes. All right, advanced routing. This is mostly for our migrated customers. Once it loads, sometimes it takes a little longer than I would think it would. All right, so direct inward system access. So for our vConsole customers, you may have made use of a feature on vConsole where you could dial into your main numbers that rang to the auto attendant, right? Then you would press the pound key during the greeting to log in over the phone. Then you would press, I believe it was option 3, so you can make an outbound call, right? So you call a customer back, and then the caller ID that would show up would be your company number instead of your own cell phone number. That's what DISA, right, direct inward system access, is for. So you can enable it, and then you probably want to add a PIN number, or you can make a PIN number, you can add an extension, click on Save Changes. So now your staff members from a cell phone or landline, they can call into your main number, right, get to the virtual receptionist, they enter extension 1021, then they enter this PIN number, and they'll be prompted to enter the PIN number. They'll hear dial tone again, and they enter one area code and phone number to dial out. They call their customer. The caller ID that shows up on the customer end is that main number set up under the caller ID under the dashboard page. Now, for new customers, this is not enabled by default because it's also a potential area for fraud, right? Someone potentially could figure out the PIN and extension number and then start making outbound calls on your system without you knowing it right away, and then running up your bill. Call logs basically shows the call activity on the account. Right, green arrow to the right means a call came in. The yellow or gold arrow to the left means that's an outbound call. You can click on a call to get some additional information. Now, on an actual live system, you would see that these calls would be being offered to a user and which device the user or on the user it was going to. But these, again, this being a test system, they're mostly just coming in and probably going to voicemail for the most part. You have a little fire hydrant icon here. This allows you to report a call. So it creates a new email with the technical details of the call. Now, what I recommend is in that body of that email, you type in what experience you had. Like this says a call came to me, but my phone never rang. Right? That at least gives the support team an idea of what's happening as they dig into the system. They'll probably still email you or call you back to try to do some test calls to better isolate what's going on. And you can also download these files as CSV. You also have a custom, so you can change the parameters of what's shown. Feature codes. Again, I've mentioned a couple of these. These are just shortcuts on a VoIP phone. You can dial to make use of various codes, like here are the call forwarding ones that a user can set up their call forwarding themselves right off their VoIP phone, right? The hot desking ones I mentioned. These are also published on our website, so you don't have to log in to view them. Just an interesting one that's actually relatively new is this one here, direct extension pickup. So if you're in an office, right, and let's say your coworker Doug just went off. He's like, hey, I have an emergency, and if just keep an eye on my phone, right, just in case big client A is going to call in. So you're going about your day, and then his phone starts ringing. You hit the *87 here, and then Doug's extension. You pick up his call, and then you talk to the customer, obviously. All right. So we've been on dashboard this whole time, so let's go over to ACD queues. So ACD stands for automatic call distribution. The main thing is for ACD queues is you can only receive calls with a VoIP phone, right? So physical VoIP phone, a soft phone, or the web phone, right? We can't send calls currently to cell phones or landlines from a queue, which is why you may have groups on your account. Adding a new queue is you just click here. I'm just going to click on a gear icon here, just so we'll get to the same things here. Queue name, right? You type in the name. Call in number or extension, right? So a queue can have either an extension number or you can select a specific phone number. This is on top of being a menu option off of an auto attendant or virtual receptionist. A queue routing strategy, fortunately the pull down isn't working here. You've got 5 to choose from, right? So most idle, which is one here, that means the next call that comes in goes to the agent or staff member who's been waiting for a call the longest, right? So say Bob's been waiting for 5 minutes, Mary's been waiting for 20 minutes, call comes in, goes to Mary, right? You've got ring all, means call comes in, it's ringing all the agents. You have round robin, which will equalize the call volume over time. And then you've got least offered. So say Bob and Mary, let's say Bob's been offered 20 calls, Mary's been offered 5 calls. Under least offered, Mary gets the next call that comes in. And then you have least calls, which is the least amount of connected calls. So in that scenario of 20 for Bob and 5 for Mary, say Bob only spoke to 2 people and Mary has spoken to 5 people, right? Under least calls, the next call comes in, goes to Bob. Hold treatment, you can upload .wav, .mp3, recorded mono file to list, so that way that's what your inbound callers listen to while they're waiting for a staff member to pick up. Now, this is the standard queues. Under ACD Queues Pro, the hold treatment is much more customizable, right? You can do, announce their position in the hold queue, announce the expected wait time. You can put in different media files or, do like media file and then put in the expected hold time. Media file, could be the same file, could be a different one, and then announce their position, right? And go back to another media file, etc. Another thing you can do under ACD Queues Pro is set up a route. So like if people press 0, you can then send them to, say, a voicemail box. Basically, get a route to get them out of the queue early. Queue timeout, this is how much time people can wait on hold, measured in seconds. Queue call limit, you can limit the number of people waiting on hold. 0 means there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. When this is enabled, if you have no staff members logged into a queue and a call comes into that queue, it will treat that caller as if they have already hit this 30-second or 3,600-second timeout. Escalation queue, if all the staff members in this queue are busy and a call comes in, they'll be sent over to the escalation queue, so someone else can, right, your backup staff essentially can take over the call. And then escalation call flow after timeout. So after that 3,600 seconds, send the calls to this voicemail box. Now, just as a heads up, if you have an escalation queue, right? So call comes in, gets routed to the escalation queue, this timer is still in effect. So once it hits, even if the caller is in the escalation queue, they get sent to this voicemail box. Agent behavior. So agent recovery time, measured in seconds. Basically, after an agent is done with the call, they can go into wrap-up time, measured in seconds, and that's how much time they get before the system will offer them a second call. This is normally 15 to 30 seconds for most customers that I've seen, not 300. Force away upon rejected or missed, if you enable this. If an agent misses a call, then the system will automatically put them in away mode until they put themselves back in ready mode. And agent connect timeout, this is how much time we try to reach the devices an agent has. Again, 20 seconds is usually plenty of time because right now on queues, we're only sending calls to VoIP devices. All right, over here on this icon, we click over to members, and then you want to click on manage members. So this list on the left, these are people who are not able to go log into queues, right? They're on my account, but they can't get into queues. On the right, these are my staff members who can go into queues. So if I want to move someone, I click on their name, I click add as members. And now Bernard here can be a queue member. And likewise, if I want to remove someone, highlight their name, click on remove from members. So once you've added members as part of the pool, then you decide, okay, what queue are they in, right? You click on the queue anywhere in the box, and then you click on add agents, and then you would just click and drag whoever you want to be in the queue, and then down here, click on save changes. As far as adding managers, they have to be an agent first, but then you can add, click and drag, and add a member as an agent, or an agent as a manager, excuse me. Now, for your staff members, anyone who's allocated to queue can get to the queues, and then they would click on begin session. So now I'm logged in, you see here. I'm red, meaning because I'm marked away. So when I'm ready to take calls, I mark ready. And now I'm ready in every queue that I'm assigned to. And I'm green, meaning I can take a call. If I'm on an inbound call, this will turn to blue. If I'm on wrap-up time, it turns to gold. And if I'm on an external call, it turns to yellow. Likewise, up here, this little phone icon, I can determine which of my VoIP devices I'm going to receive calls on, as well as just saying, hey, ring all of my devices. Right? When I go to lunch, I can just mark myself as away, so that way I'm not being offered calls. And at the end of my day, I click on end session. Now, the pro queues, you have a performance section, so you can compare agents in terms of how they're doing, in terms of call volume. You also have managers have the, or admins have the manager, or I believe it's admins. They also have the ability to listen in on a call. They can whisper to their staff members to like give them help, as well as barge in to take over a call. You also have more information available to you. You can see like the activity logs of like when staff members are logging in and logging out, and etc. All right, blacklist. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're not allowing to connect to your system, right? Blocking calls. So for RV console customers, if you made use of auto route to block calls from reaching you, this is that specific replacement feature. You click on edit blacklists. If you don't have any list created, you click add. Otherwise, you would just click on an existing list. You can change the name at any time. Block anonymous means if we don't get valid caller ID on the inbound caller, then with it turned on, we're blocking that call from connecting to the system. Otherwise, you click on add number, you put the plus sign, the number 1, area code and phone number, and then you click add, you click save, then you go back to settings, and then you make sure that the list is over here in the selected side, right? So you might have to click and drag it over. And then you hit update. So now any phone numbers that are on these two lists, when they try to call into my system, they get a busy tone, right? So they're not getting anywhere. All right, faxes. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account and see basically what they're getting, as well as check their outbound faxing. And then you can get the emailed fax logs. You notice here, right, thumbs down, that didn't go through. I see who it went from, who it went to, the date and the time. A little eyeball icon here. This will give me additional details. In this case, it's saying, hey, this person doesn't have an account, right? i.e., they're not actually a user. Not quite sure why they tried to send a fax out on a system they're not a user on. Monitor is, as far as I know, not enabled on many accounts. Basically allows you to see what the staff is doing, right? So green, ready for call, red, marked away, blue, inbound call, yellow, outbound call, gold on recovery time. Number manager takes you to your spare number page. Recording manager, this will take you to your call recordings, right? Just recordings.virtualpbx.com. It uses your same dash login, and then you can see the recordings, you can listen to them, you can download them. It's hosted by AWS. For our vConsole customers, recordings on Dash, they're not automatically deleted after 14 days like they were on vConsole. Instead, you have a storage limit, anywhere from 1 to 2 gigabytes. And then once you go over that, you get charged for the next gigabyte, which I don't know what the pricing is on that. You might want to check with our services team to verify. Reports is currently in beta. This is advanced reporting, so it's much more granular than the call logs. If you're interested in that, you're going to want to talk to our services team to get that enabled, as well as set up training. User portal, right? So everyone has their own individual user portal, right? So this is my specific user portal. I disabled delete after notification on voicemail box. So I can see, hey, here's a new email. Here's the date and time it came in. Here's the phone number it came from. Here's the phone number they dialed. The duration, I can listen to the message, right? And I can also download it. If I click on the little box here, right, I can mark it as new. I can mark it as listened. I can mark it for deletion, right? You also have the option to say, hey, show everything, show the new ones, listened, or what have you. Call history, I can see the calls that came in and out of my system in this date range, which I can obviously change. Faxes, I can see the inbound and outbound faxes. The contact list, this is within your Dash account, right? So I can see where calls are routing to a particular person. I can see their extension numbers, their phone numbers, etc. Again, this is only within your Dash account. You can't, like your salespeople wouldn't be able to add their client list to this. Conference, this is how users manage their conferences. So over here, for example, they can change their PIN numbers. Right, for moderator, this is what they would use typically to log in with. And then the participant PIN number, they can change here as well. And then they've got the options of, hey, when people join, they're muted, or when they come in, they're deaf. And then you can play entry and exit tones. Up here, you can invite other Dash account users to the conference. You can lock a conference, mute everybody, unmute, and hang up. When you're actually in a conference, you can actually mute specific people as well as kick specific people. And then under settings and devices, this is where your users can set up their own call forwarding. Again, +1 area code and phone number, and then they click on save. And they can also see the status of their devices. Voicemails, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account. So for instance, if I go to this one, I'll see that same voicemail message with that same level of detail. And then I can also mark it for new, etc. deleted. And I can also move it to someone else's voicemail box, right? So it's actually got to the wrong person. Let me send it to the right person's voicemail box. The last option here is webhooks. This is to link Dash via APIs to other software. If you are interested in that, you're going to want to talk to our sales team. They'll have some additional information and I guess qualifying information. If you want to see what can be, there's some of the code that is used with APIs, you can go to developer.virtualpbx.com and get an idea of what can be done with APIs in Dash. But that is pretty much everything. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Haven't seen any questions come up in chat. I'm going to hang out for a minute or so, see if anyone has any questions, and we'll go from there. All right, not seeing any questions come through. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.